Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. The Canes were flying high. I'm guessing, other than Mikko, the injury / sickness bug, whatever bad vibes they had, Ray, must have been flushed out in the last couple of games, because they took it to Utah yesterday. That was a revenge game if I've seen one in a long time.
It was the revenge game I was asking for last week. In fact, all 3 of the games we played this week were revenge games of sorts. Sadly, we only got it in the end, but I took especially great joy in yesterday's game, thanks to Kochetkov want to throw hands with Veggie. Veggie was being beat up already, though, and like immediately afterwards we go down and Seth Jarvis makes a fool of him. I mean, that was glorious, but we'll get into all of that. This is the Storm Cellar. And when we open the door to the Storm Cellar and have our guest today come in, who I have the utmost respect for, one of my all-time favorite podcast hosts of all of the podcasts that we cover. She is my favorite because she's a lot like us. She tells it like it is.
I love her. I don't want to say brutal honesty, but
no, brutal
pointed,
honesty is
directed
good.
honesty. I don't think she goes brutal, but her poignant points.
And we've even thrown down a couple of times, and she still comes to the show. I mean, that's what's amazing. Kat from the Surge Cast.
Welcome back.
Hello, guys. I'm good, and I never mean to throw down with you guys.
No. It's
we're big
always
boys. We can take it.
Well, yeah, big shoulders, but I mean, throw down is such a terrible way to describe it. We actually have legitimate,
they're passionate discussions,
and that's fine. You know, no one's calling names, no one's whatever. It's awesome. Kat, so I know you've been on the show before. We know, I mean, you host a show. So the whole Caniac story we're shining a light on is, I guess, a little repetitive. So instead, this time we're going to ask what you've been up to since the last time we had you on. Like, you stay busy, don't you? I mean, you're always on the show. Like, it's amazing. And you get some great guests too. Little jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I really haven't been on here with you guys in a while. I just thought about that. Our schedules are just running. I think I've seen you in person more than I've actually, like, last time I was on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pre-Stadium Series when you were on, for sure. So
yeah. Oh wow, I'm losing track of time. Yeah, I've been very busy because we do a show once a week, and which is super fun. Because we have to coordinate all of our schedules. And then I'm a full season ticket member, so every home game that I'm available, I go to. So yeah, it's a lot of Canes during the week. Like, as soon as the season hits, all my friends are like, "You're busy most of the time, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. My second love of the Carolina Hurricanes has taken over my life." But yeah, it's honestly just chugging along really since the last time I've been on here. A couple of changes we had, of course, with our podcast. It was me, Zach, and Bailey has now been, she's like a full-time writer for covering the Avalanche. So she has taken a step back. So it's just me and Zach. So we still love to have Bailey on.
No, I love you, Zach.
Yeah, no, don't worry. He probably says poor Zach because now he has like no even like moderator. Like, I just give him a hard time all the time. And then we've got our unpaid intern, is what we like to call him, because he helps produce the show and keep us on track and tries to keep us on time. So a few changes on the podcast side of things. And then, yeah, we've just been really fortunate. Bailey and Zach were able, like, they got in touch with Walt Ruff a couple of times. Like, they were in touch with him, got him on the show. And then through that, we've just like reached out to Mike, and through those connections, reached out to more and more people. So we're really excited. Everyone at the Canes has been really awesome to talk to and available. And whenever we can pick their brain, we're like, we know we can't ask you everything and you can't tell us all the answers we want, but what can you tell us? And honestly, their stories make up for, like, being like, what's the starting lines for today? So
And
yeah,
it's having Shane on too. It's like we want to
yeah.
reach out, but we also don't want to be a bother. Like we know you're busy, but like we really want to talk to you. So
well,
it's like
he was so awesome. Like for a while, we were like, how do we get Shane on? And we literally one time I got finally just to talk to him, and he was like, email me, and I emailed him, and it was like that. Like he's so responsive and so part of the community. And I think in one of our last episodes, I said again, it was so awesome just to go to watch. Like I think it was the alumni versus UNC game. And a little kid just literally was like, there's my coach. And it was Shane. And it was just like,
aw.
he's so part of the youth hockey. Like he's so involved that he's makes himself so available just to talk hockey, to teach hockey. And that's awesome. All of the staff and crew for the Canes is awesome that we've talked to.
Outside of your episodes joining us, Shane's was my favorite. I'm just throwing that out there.
He's so knowledgeable.
He's knowledgeable, and I watched him when he was a junior playing for the Lethbridge Hurricanes, and I got a chance to relive that. I remembered the date and everything about that game. It was so much fun, and again, knowledgeable and responsive.
And honest. Like
And
he said some
honest,
things. I was
yes.
a little surprised, and I was like, "Oh, I'm surprised you kind of not super negative, but just an honest assessment of like, hey, like, yeah, the power play is not going well, and we got to, X, Y, and Z, right?" So
Yeah.
was not a water carrier, like that's probably the thing that I enjoy the most is that, just tell it like it is, please. Apple polishing. I just, something about it. Speaking about not carrying water or apple polishing, let's recap the last week. 3 games, 2 on the road, and and we can't share the texts that Brad and I have between one another. And I
wonder if I
fear
could
that
publish
if
a
we
book
were
someday.
actually, I fear, well, yeah, we should. I
be in,
fear
like, the
that if
restricted
you were,
section.
if we were in the stands with you, Kat, we might be your worst nightmare in the stands.
So where I sit, we have some pretty, like, we have our friends that are also season tickets. So we're all there. We're always critiquing the games, and we're pretty like, okay, that was actually a penalty, and like critiquing players and being like, yeah, that's how they performed last week. I don't know if you would. I try to be as realistic as possible during the games. And of course I'm watching Twitter as well, everyone's reactions, because they're seeing stuff on TV and how, like, different viewpoints and everything. And the last couple of games, I mean, they weren't great. But every time we go on these like losing streaks, especially, I always like to consider all the circumstances that are happening with it. And my main thing, and I know this makes me like a big optimist, with Kane's Twitter, but I typically, when we go on our losing streaks, my main thing is always like, if they're trying, like if I see there's like effort and they're just not getting puck luck, or like for some reason the other team has a couple of stripes, calling more things on their side, like I get, or there's like the flu going around, like I give them that. Like, I'm like, okay, like I can see you're doing everything you can. It's just not going your way tonight. Because that's how hockey is. Like sometimes you do everything and the puck literally just won't go in the net. And I feel like some of these games, some of that was going on. I mean, of course, we know the guys were also like struggling with the flu, and you're fitting in 2 new people, which is like a lot harder than I think a lot of people realize. Like, they're superstar players, but also when you've ever done something, like you've gone from working with one team to working with another team, whether it's in the office or on the ice, like it's weird. It's a little bit like, oh, this is how you do things. Well, this is how I do things. Can we make them go together? Or do we both have to adapt? So it's been, I love winning, don't get me wrong, but I've also trying to have a little bit of grace for the guys, because I know it's been a lot. It's more than just winning and like just playing badly. It's been a lot of
Mhm.
extra things going on.
And real quick to Kat's point, this was not something I thought, and I wish I could remember who said this on social media, but I was like, wow, that's a great point, and I wrote it down, but I don't have it in front of me. But they said, if you compare Mikko and Natchez after the trade, Rantanen was drafted by Colorado, spent 10 years there. Clearly, this trade came out of the blue, and he's like, oh my God, what just happened to me? And he's going to need time to adjust. And then when you look at the success Natchez has had, Natchez probably started the year and was like, I'm earning a new contract here. This will be my forever home. And then went into that slump and was like, I bet he had a go bag packed in his closet. Like I don't know if it's going to work out here. And he probably is like relieved. Like, I'm out of Carolina. Not that he didn't want to be here, but like, I'm somewhere new. I have a fresh start. Like, I have a new chance for a contract. And so it's not just the fact that they were swapped, but like, what were their expectations going into the season? I'm sure Marty Natchez, with all three of his contracts have been, there's been some back and forth and dispute. Nothing's been easy. And I think that in some way he probably feels some relief, and it shows on the ice, right? Whereas Rantanen, I think thought he was going to be a forever Av, even with the way things were going contract wise, and he's in a different headspace. So I think that's a great point, that the guys, I think, are in very different headspaces because of what I think their expectations may have been, where Mikko was blindsided and Natchez has basically been trade bait for 3 years.
And
Yeah.
sorry, and I'll just jump in and add to that specifically a couple of things. One, Kat, I think for you, it's a lot easier to watching it on TV. We're stuck to the confines of the camera, right? When you're at the games, you can see how things are unfolding, and the whole lack of effort thing. You can see what's going on, like outside of the camera, and so you get a better look at if they're actually doing the effort or not. You know what I mean? Like, that's the first
Yeah.
thing. As far as the Natchez Rantanen situation, Moose is not only blindsided by the trade, but he's coming to a system that is completely different than what Colorado's doing. And Natchez has found, nirvana to go to Colorado, where he can be the like he can focus on offense
It's the
as
system
much
he
as he
wanted to be in,
wants.
right?
Yes,
Yeah, it's a system that
exactly.
benefits him. Yeah.
So that was my point. Everyone wants to make that, oh, Mikko, only 2 points or whatever, and it's like, guys, you
I,
know, yeah.
yeah.
So he was crap then the whole time, and they wanted to attribute Mikko's success to McKinnon. And look, playing with McKinnon, Natchez is playing with McKinnon too. So if you're gonna do the crediting, the Moose, all of his success is tied to him. You don't you do the same thing for Natchez too? And that's not right. You're discrediting both players at the same time. It's nuts.
I will say, I think a lot of it, and I think I said this, tweeted it, because it's crazy watching everyone's like, okay, who won this trade? And it's only been a couple of games and everyone's got their opinions on who won the trade. But it's also, I think a lot of people, I mean, we talk about the players were blindsided. I think a lot of fans were as well. But like, even though the difference with like Natchez and Drury both having like, there's always a part when they were here where like maybe they want to be somewhere else. Maybe they'd fit better somewhere else and other people were interested in them. Whereas like Brandon was always, that was a long-term guy. They didn't have that feeling over there. So whether that, like, this trade just came out of nowhere, and it's a trade, like, everyone wanted the Canes to go big. The Canes finally went really big, but it's going to be at the expense of some players that we did get attached to. And I feel like a lot of people are like a little bit coping with how they're feeling about it with, okay, let me compare these players, because if I didn't hurt in this trade, like, maybe this player's going to do bad and I feel better about how this trade impacts my team. And it's not like you said, it's not really fair to either player, or any of the players, because they all have to adjust. Like, yes, this benefits Natchez more. That was one of the qualms with him and Carolina's would be like, play a little bit more defense. Well, now he's on a team where it's just like offense, 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 go, go, go. And to like discredit any player that, yes, McKinnon is fantastic, but like to discredit any player that plays with him, like you also have to do enough to play with him. Like you can't just be put with someone. Like if you're terrible, they're just you're gonna drag them down. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
so,
keep up.
I mean, I almost feel like it's as close as comparison I can get, but it's almost being like, okay, well, Draisaitl only really like he succeeded more when he's with around McDavid, but without McDavid, Draisaitl's going to fall off. And it's like, well, we know that's not true. We haven't given Rantanen really that chance. And like you said, like it's such a different system. Like Natchez now has the room to just like skate and go. And as much as we love all of like Jarvis and Aho, like they're different players than McKinnon. They just their style, like you can see, especially the previous game, they read each other so well. As much as we love Aho and Rantanen together, they haven't got that time to have that chemistry yet. Like we're all like, yeah, they play together, but that's different. That's not day to day. That's not in Rod's system. So, and you can see Rantanen's like he's just so close. Like even with learning the system, it's not even like he's just barely missing. He's doing everything that we do, and then just barely missing. Which, sorry, Rantanen, welcome to Canes hockey. But it's not, it's just like a little bad puck luck. And you can see that's how frustrated he was getting.
Especially in the Wild game, right? Like he was losing. Well, how many? He could have had 5. He could have had 5 in that game alone.
He was doing everything that we yell at the Canes to do. Like you get to, and they're like, don't just hit it into his chest. Don't hit right straight to the, and he was popping it over and just enough that it popped over the whole goal. And you're like, he's doing, and he tried to get a little bit outside and it just went a little too wide and the goalie got a toe to it. It's like he's done everything that Canes fans want from their forwards. He's just that little snake bit, and you can tell he's frustrated, but it's not like our system is at fault for that. And it's not like he's at fault for it. It's just like that half of like
right?
1% is puck luck. If you don't have it, you're stuck for a minute.
Real quick shout out to Corey Lav of The Athletic. I was reading this morning. Corey was talking about Mikko, and like let's put some perspective on this. And I didn't know this, but looking at metrics and advanced metrics, McKinnon without Rantanen is worse off than Rantanen without McKinnon, if that makes sense. So when Mikko wasn't with McKinnon, he actually plays better than McKinnon plays without. Like there's a bigger drop off when McKinnon doesn't have Rantanen beside him than the other way. And that's one of the things where people are like, oh, of course, if you're with McKinnon, and there's some truth to that, but part of that is like the Aho Jarvis experience that Kat's talking about is sometimes you just find somebody you click with. And if you click with, then, you know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and you go with it. And that has been the McKinnon-Rantanen thing for a long time. So Rantanen's going to get paid as a 1C.
Oh, yeah.
Or a first liner, I should say. Whether you may not play him at center, but you're going to pay him as a top line guy. If putting him with, like, you know, Svech and KK or something gets him going, then you do it. Because if nothing else, we know Rod doesn't number his lines. And so that's one of the things that, you know, we always joke about, okay, well, then they're A, B, C, D or whatever. But the way that our system is set up is if the Aho Rantanen thing doesn't quite fit, try other combinations, but find something that works for Mikko, but give things an opportunity. Like don't do the Blendemore thing and move him up and down with 100 people. But like if you want to try a couple of things, I think Four Nations break is going to be huge for him. He's going to get a little bit of a break. He's going to be around a bunch of Finns, and he's going to feel relaxed. And I think he's going to come home and tear it up.
The mental refresh. Honestly, he came in like he didn't even come into Carolina. He came into away games, totally thrown off. And then it's like, okay, well, he comes to away games, but also then he has to come back to Carolina, which also feels like an away place to him. Like he didn't have time to come into like his new home. And so
he got the good locker room though.
Yeah,
that article, that poll.
Hey, that's why we're revamping everything. But yeah, I just think we need to give him time. Again, it's like, you know, that feeling when you go on vacation and like sometimes you just feel like you're not home and you feel like you're out. And I feel like he still feels that way, even though it's been a couple of games now. And like you said, like some people had some takes where obviously we succeeded against Utah in the big revenge game. And everyone's like, well, Rantanen was out. Yes, but the Canes also had something to prove. It's like a double-edged sword. I don't think Rantanen is the reason we've been losing games. I also don't think I also don't think that they're fully situated to him being in the lineup. I think Aho tries very hard to get him going in the lineup to the point where Aho makes few too many or too hard passes. So like, I want to get this right and I want to get him going. Like he just wants his teammate and his friend to feel like, all right, we're good. Get a goal. Let's go. And with Jarvis, it's like you don't even have to think about where each other are. And so it's like a little bit of I'm trying to make this chemistry that I've built up with this teammate for a couple seasons now fit immediately with my friend because I want this to be successful. I want him to want to stay. And sometimes you're like, you can't force it, especially in that quick of time. So I think it's a lot of I don't want to say anyone won the trade because I think it's a little bit of a waiting game to see how the players pan out. Because yes, is succeeding. Have Canes fans seen that and then seen him like kind of fall back? Yes, there's a little bit of give and take. Is it a different system and maybe he'll stay more consistent? Yes.
I think so much of it's the playoffs too, right?
Yeah. Which one's a
if
playoff
either guy
player,
goes hot in the playoffs, then that's at least short term, that's the win.
And a lot of the experts, all they're saying is none of this matters. It has to be proven in the playoffs and stuff. And to just bring a nice fine point on what you just said, Kat, it's why I so desperately wanted Jarvis on the top line instead of Blake with Rantanen, because Aho may be trying really hard to get to Rantanen. He doesn't have to think with Jarvis there. The options are better there. That's what I was looking for. I didn't mean to besmirch Blake as bad. And
I agree.
But we'll leave it at that because I don't want to relive that. We have you have to leave soon. I don't want to relive that. And we've patched things up. It's like we patch up a wound and it heals, and I don't want to scratch at it.
No, you're good. I feel like we ended up on the same page. Listen, I was a big proponent earlier in the season. I said put Aho with Jarvis. I was all about that. They finally did. I thought they clicked. It went so well. Aho got going finally. I'm all for it. I think my disagreement was I didn't think that our struggles were coming from Blake. Like I don't think he was a liability on the ice. He was actually creating a lot of chances. But you're right. Like Jarvis has it. I think Brind'Amour knows he has Jarvis. He can go up there really easily to create that chemistry. So I agreed with you to an extent. I do like Jarvis and Aho together. I didn't like let's dump on the new kid when the new kid is actually very impactful all of the games. And I wasn't saying you were dumping on him, but
it's not like you called out Stahl or anything like some other people might have.
Yeah,
because then you'd be in real trouble.
And he proved his point too. Like again, Blake proved his point being on the top line where he was probably the best player on the top line. Very quickly though, and this is probably a terrible way to describe it. There is in all of this talk the stepchild that everyone forgets about, Taylor Hall. He was part of all of this too, and he's on the team. I wanted to get your take on how he's doing. I myself very pleased with the effort. You can see that hallelujah, I'm not a Hawk anymore kind of vibe that he seems to give. And man, I forgot how fast he is and how fast he can be. You got a chance to see him live, and let's say the Utah game, that whole second line, Robinson, Hall, KK, it was like they were playing with a cheat code. They were fast. They were really fast and working hard. What's your take on Hall?
So Hall does get a little bit forgotten in this, which is kind of sad because, he used to be like he was a first overall pick and he has all these accolades to his name, but he's also moved around the team so much and he's kind of fallen off a little bit. And yes, hallelujah, he's not a Hawk anymore. But I just love the attitude that he's come in with. He was impactful from like the first game. Like he's trying to do everything he can. And I think he's feeling that freedom. Yes, there are a few like mistakes here and there. Yeah, that's the growing pains. But he's been making up for it with making you can see his speed. You can see his playmaking ability. and his attitude coming in where he's like, I'm just so excited. He's so different than Rantanen because he had this, of everyone in the trade, he had a feeling that it was coming. And I think he actually knew too. And he was just waiting. And he was just like, yes, like, like of everyone, he's like, get me out. Like, let me get to a team where I can get in a playoff. Because he's like, the one thing I don't have is the Stanley Cup. I'm on a team that's on the way to that. But like, yes. And he's just voiced how he's, it kind of reminded me of Lemieux a little bit, where he was like, I'm just so grateful to be here. I want to do everything I can to help this team. And like whatever part you put me at, I want to stop moving around. Like I want to be on my last team and just do everything I can to contribute to that. And then like, I feel like kind of get his groove back. Cause with the Hawks, it was like, it's hard to, losing so much and like doing everything you can. It's like, okay, well, where am I going with my career?
Right? Yeah.
But what I kind of love too is like, yes, Bedard said when Taylor Hall left, like he was like a little sad because like Taylor Hall took him under his wing and like showed him the ropes. And from some sources I've heard he's done that with Blake. Now that he's here, he's like, I'll mentor this kid. I'll talk to him, like show him some ropes. And I'm like, that's one way to earn yourself really into Rod's locker room is if you are helping the prospects and helping the kids that are working hard, because Rod will notice that. Everyone will notice that. And I've loved where he's fit. He's been pretty seamless. His speed and his found connection with Svet. She works well with KK Robinson. So for him to like kind of just go into that winger spot has been fantastic. So yes, he's been a little forgotten in the trade, but I think it's just because everything about it has been easier a little bit with Hall than it has with the other guys. So everyone's comparing more with them, where it's like, okay, but if like Hall really seamlessly fits in, like that's a win that nobody was expecting. Yeah. And it's like the Carolina way of the underhanded win, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna all focus on this one big thing. Let me get this player here, and you're not gonna really focus on how this goes, but I really won because I got him for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. We've got what, 5 minutes left with you before you have to 5
to 10. 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Okay, time. So yes. I'm gonna put this on you. We've got 2 things left.
Okay.
To talk about: Four Nations or a Storm report for the midway of the season. What would you like to discuss most?
Let's do Storm report.
Awesome. Awesome. And you know the whole deal. It's we're breaking the players aspects of the team into 3 categories: tropical depression, tropical storm, and hurricane. Worst to best in that order. And how do you want to do it? Do you want to end on a high or start with a high?
End on a high.
End on a high. That's always great.
Positivity.
That's normally what people do. It's you don't want to end up
people do.
Bagging the team.
Yeah,
well, me and Zach's word, because he joked with me because they were a little when we started again in January. They were kind of like, oh, I don't know how we're going. I was like, nope, this is the year of optimism. It's a new year. Optimism is the word. And then we went and we've been winning. And I was like, see, it's working. So end on a high. Especially after
you get what
the
you
games.
Give, right? You get what you give. Yeah. All right. Tropical depression. Brad, let's start with you. And then I'll jump in.
The lowest of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Seth Jarvis scored on the power play yesterday and ruined a great joke that I had on social media, but I put it out there anyway because it was funny. It's an adult-oriented joke, so I'm not going to repeat it here, but you can find it on Blue Sky. The power play is 3 for like 400, or I forget the exact numbers, but I think 3 for 400 is pretty close.
Yeah.
Something has to change, guys. I mean, we said when our power play was 5th, I don't know how many people, but I know I was one of some probably minority who was bagging on it. And I'm sure there were people like, dude, it's the 5th best power play in the league. What are you talking about? I'm like, I don't trust that number. Like when they get the movement and all, yes, they're scoring, but I looked it up. They're scoring power play goals against bad penalty killer teams. And we were getting bunches. So we're going 2 for 3. Right? Yeah, we're going 2 for 3. And then which 66%. Wow, that inflates your numbers. And then you go over for the next 4 games, right? and it ends up being 30% or whatever. So something has to give. I don't see Rod letting them change out Daniels, who I know Rod has said in the past that he kind of helps run the power play. I don't see any reason to change coaches necessarily, but they need to bring in somebody, even if it's not a full-time, like even if you don't want a full-time power play coach on the payroll, bring in somebody for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's some really good people out there that I think could help with the power play. Bring them in as a consultant and have them look at the power play, have them look at footage, and then say, look, these are the things that aren't working. I mean, I could tell them for free, when they're stagnant, it stinks. And when you're move, it's a lot better, even if it's not necessarily scoring. But so many games, at least one or two of the power plays, they're just kind of standing around.
Passing around the outside.
Yeah, they've swapped Svetch from the bumper position out again when he was earlier working really well in the bump. Like if I can see it, they can see it, because I know some about hockey, but I'm not Rod Brindamore or Jeff Daniels or, Timmy Gleason or Eric Tulsky. So if I can see it, you guys should be able to see it. But something has to give with the power play. I mean, if we don't get power play going by the playoffs, I don't know that you would never win a cup without a decent power play, but you are really making yourself work a lot harder.
Extra harder. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Kat.
Well, and I just thought about this too. When we're stagnant on the power play, it almost looks like a reverse of our penalty kill, which is funny. But it's like, well, that's not what you're trying to do. Like, yeah, you're like, you should be moving. Like our penalty kill so well, we stay very disciplined. They're like moving, like slowly shifting back and forth with the puck, watching it, blocking shots. But when you go on the power play, then that's the time, yeah, you're supposed to be moving. Make the other team do what you're supposed to be doing on the penalty kill. And yeah, I don't know if it's a changing quarterback. You're right. Like I see things like when they don't move, like you get stuck because the other team doesn't have to work that hard. They can read your passes quicker. And I know a lot of people, again, with the trade, they're like, well, they lost their entry in Natchez. Well, that was struggling before Natchez left. That entry started struggling. He would get in and then lose the puck. So we do much better when we win it off the face-off inside there, but it's the protecting of the puck, and it shouldn't be that hard. You have an extra person on the ice, but it's like they want it to be perfect, and sometimes it's like we all remember the Natchez goal earlier in the season where he literally threw it, went off a skate, and popped in, and it's like we saw that work. So why aren't we trying for those greasy goals? Greasy goals happen in power plays because you have an extra person and everyone's scrambling. So
a certain Islander saw that happen twice to him last night.
Yeah,
not going to name names. We don't bash people. I'm just saying, if you look at the footage from last night,
I heard someone scored. An Islander scored against
two own
the
goals.
Islanders.
I mean, his proponents will tell you what a good goal scorer he is, and I would have to agree.
I've never disagreed on that. I've never disagreed on that. I've disagreed on the letter beside his name when you look him up on a stat sheet. It should be an F, but for many reasons. Sorry.
So many comments. Never mind.
Speaking of jokes that Jarvis ruined with the power play goal yesterday, it got to a point where I just wanted it, not just decline the penalty, okay? Not just that. I wanted it to be, Utah's taking a penalty. Never mind. We'll send one of our guys into the box because
shorthanded somehow we move.
We get better chances. We get better chances, at least 3 2-on-1s every, that's what you want, right? And as far as this circles a little bit back to Rantanen, it was either Winnipeg or the Minnesota game. It was the Minnesota game on the power play. Rantanen standing right by the net, completely untouched. He's got his stick in the air. The puck goes out to the point, and he didn't even get a look. The whole passing lane was there, and he didn't even get a look because they wanted to keep it on the other side and keep moving the puck around the outside. And it was like, he's right there, guys. Come on. Find him,
I feel like they need to limit. They need to be like, for power play, with sometimes we would do in soccer, like if you're really beating the team, you have to pass it 3 times before you can like go to goal. Well, I feel like an opposite with power play. You can do 1 to 2 to maybe 3 passes, and then you have to shoot. Like
I like it.
if you do more, you're benched.
Yeah,
$1,000 fine.
100%. That's I'm with you there. So my tropical depression, my selection might take away anything else that you might have, Kat, but 6 of the 7D that we have, 6 of the 7, Slavin right now at this point is our best defenseman, and that's it. The chemistry that Chatfield and Orlov had earlier on is gone. It's like Chatfield is covering for Orlov way too much, which actually led to Chatfield's goal yesterday, which was nice to have him rewarded
He earned that, yeah.
he did earn it. But Ghost is gone, like literally a ghost. Although, look, being a new dad, being a dad is the best job a guy will ever have. So if what's going on at home, him being a dad, all the rest of it is having any sort of whatever, I can let that pass. Like he's got personal life change. Sean Walker is not. I mean, when those two are on the ice together, I know how great Walker can be. I just don't see it. I hold my breath every time they're on the ice. Ghost is TDA, only better, like way better. But he's gone now. Like they put Burns on the top power play. Like that is just, and don't get me started on Burns. Okay. Sorry. I will say this, and I did share this with Brad, and it's all G. Okay. What does Burns have left to prove? He needs to be sat. And to say that about a guy who's got 895 games in a row that he's played, who cares as much as he does. I don't doubt how much he loves what he's doing and how hard he's trying. But he is Roy Kent. He is Roy Kent.
Aww.
Because just amazing and has done everything, but his body's not getting him where he needs to go. Slavin is our best guy.
To add to your point, I medium agree. Yes, Burns. It's really hard because he does it's a mix. It's just him aging out a little bit and just being a step slow. He just makes one pass. It's it's a little questionable. But then he does things where he's the veteran that stands up for Blake, and you're like, that's fantastic. Or he does a really good defensive play, and you're like, there you go, that's what we want. So he's like a mixed bag. You're really grateful he's with Slavin because, good grief, Slavin has done years of work, not just with him, but he's covered for a lot of people. And I would say Ghost and Walker, it's an in between. Yes, Ghost isn't what he was at the beginning of the season for sure. I would love to see him come back to the power play because I think his puck handling, I just trust it more at the blue line and his positioning. Again, a lot's gone, new baby, sickness, a lot's gone on. So I feel like he can come back into what we really need him to be. I honestly thought Walker stepped up and played very well when Ghost was out. And I still see him. He's doing some really good, his shooting and he's actually getting really good zone entry by himself sometimes. I've seen more from him. At the beginning of the season, I was like, okay, he's learning the system. We have to remember it's his first year of all the defensemen. It's his first year. So in the beginning of the season, I was a little bit like, okay, give this guy some break. He obviously does it. He's learning. And now I feel like he's starting to really get comfortable with it. Do we want to see more from that pairing? Yes, because that's technically your second pairing. But I would say the two I'd say the two ones, and the ones that you're probably not going to have after this season, but the two little more liabilities on defense is Burns and Orlov. Unfortunately, ever since that hit from Hala, like his play has gone downhill, and I don't know if it's like, has to do with it. But I was praising him to the point where earlier in the season I was like, he's playing so well that he is actually like making a case. Do you keep him? And now in the last couple of games, he's given up 2 goals, and he just has been making some like really not the same plays he did earlier in the season, where I'm like, I don't see him coming back. Just like, I mean, would you have Nikishin and Morrow in the waiting to come up? So that's where like it's a mixed bag. I agree with you, and then there's some I'm like I see a little more upside to him, but especially just because how the team's played as a whole recently, I've seen more. There's a few more ones that have flaws than others.
Real quick, Kat. So we know you have to go, but we don't want to let you
I
leave
can
on a
talk
downer.
all the time.
Do you want to give us your hurricane before you go?
Sure. So am
Positive
I
note.
a positive optimism? Okay. Optimism. Because those were also notes. Now I'm trying to think of there are positives. I think the positive to end on is the Canes. They do, yes, everyone goes through slumps, and the Canes go through slumps a lot with their season just because, like, I feel like they get very comfortable where they are, and then things will start, like the power play will fall off, or, they'll get in a little bit of a scoring drought. And again, sometimes it's just puck luck. Like they've been doing the same thing they did other games, and sometimes the keeper just is like, I'm just going to play really well tonight. Sometimes it's like you hit every crossbar imaginable. Sometimes you're like, all right, there's bars across this whole goal. And like, don't even start. We played Kemper, and it like literally trickled through him, and his defensemen were really good that night, making sure they're like, we're just gonna make sure you got this the whole way. I think the positive is that this team is really resilient. Like some teams will go through these slumps and really will just like go downhill. We've seen a lot of that with the Metro this year. This team, first of all, this is a season everyone was like, maybe this is a wipe away season. We've changed up a lot of personnel. We're going to see how they fit. We don't know if we solved our scoring. And everyone was like, okay, well, we're probably not making playoffs. They quickly at the beginning of the season were like, nope, we're still competing. You don't really like, you didn't see what we saw in these new players we got. Here's why we picked them up. And our front office has also shown like, yeah, when we started going through another slump again, our front office has shown you guys have asked us to make these big moves. We are all in. Like you guys have asked us before, you're acting like we're not taking this seriously. We're all in. And there's still probably some moves to be done this season. And it's just like, now you don't know what's going to happen. And you're like, who's safe?
Yeah.
But I think it's just like the Canes, and they're aware. They're aware when they go through these slumps. You can see like when Blake missed his penalty shot, when Rantanen missed his goal, like you can see the players, how frustrated they get. It's not, again, the lack of, like there's trying. It's not lack of effort. They are doing everything. And when they just miss it or they just make one thing, you can see how much they care about it. So I think there's still an up for them. They've put themselves at a really good place in the standings that they're allowed to go through some of these growing pains and slumps with new players and where they fall off. Because there's a lot of other teams that have fallen off all season, or now they're going through their slump. Honestly, the two teams that haven't gone through a super big slump is the Caps, which no one understands what's happening there. I think it's just fueled by Ovi and his desire to get to those goals, which also no one's focusing on them. They're just focusing on Ovi reaching Gretzky, which is like, it's a weird, like, I feel like once he hits that, are we going to focus on like how good their team actually is?
Yeah.
And then the Jets, like their goaltending and how they've been doing, they've just been like skyrocketing. So you never know, again, come playoffs. So I'd say positive note is that this team, like just like Bryn Mawr, like they fight till the end. Like you get upset with them, they give up things, or you're like, like your mental lapse happen. But I mean, it happens to all of us. And thinking about it, how long they have to be on when they're on the ice, I guess that would be my positive. Is like, even with these games, even with these, like we went through a losing streak just recently. How hot were we before Rantanen? Before the whole trade happened, we were on a big high. Like we were winning well. We were playing great Canes hockey. And you're like, well, did you mess it up with the trade? And it's like, no, because you have to do something like that because now they have time to adjust. They have time to get back into their groove. So it's like, did you give up a few games to get back into it? And like, of course, the flu hit while you're doing that. Yes. But you're also their management of like, okay, well, when do we really need to step into gear has been pretty great for like, you could easily go downhill and just keep going downhill. So sorry, that's a long-winded answer. And that's my optimism. So I guess my take for all Caniacs is really, it's be patient. I know this team always makes us be extra patient. They're the cardiac canes for a reason. But just give them this break and see where they go to the trade deadline. Like, just give them a chance to really get back into their canes with the new players, because I feel like once they do and they catch fire, everyone's going to be pretty excited to see us play. I mean, we got people scared with that trade, and I don't think they've even seen how that trade's really panned out for us yet.
You know, I know you have to leave, but you're not getting out of the storm cellar without your flowers. Brad, look, I love discussion, and yes, I was super harsh, but you made so many valid points about Sean Walker that you just kind of made me, you know what, you are right. And like, I did see the effort near the end. I did see that where emotion gets the better of you, just like emotion gets the better of fans when their favorite players get traded. That's the knowledge that you bring to every single one of your podcasts. But when you come in here and can handle the nut job, me, and the brains of the operation, Brad, and you deliver information like that, pure bliss. That is not hyperbole in any way. We love having you here. Love your intelligence. Love your hockey knowledge. Like, there's a network somewhere that needs to sign you up. I'm just saying that right now. I'm saying that right now, and I mean that.
I need to clean up my Twitter feed.
Yeah, you might have to delete it entirely, but you know,
trust me, it's that the Twitters are, I definitely put out when I'm frustrated. Like, I'm still like everyone else. Like, sometimes I'm like, just shoot the puck, please. But I try to, in the end, again, optimism is the word. I try to really go back and then think about things, because again, hockey and any sport is really supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something you enjoy, something that you get away, enjoy with your friends, family, the experience of it. And like, the guys on the ice are doing, like, it's their job, but like, they also enjoy it. They're doing their best. No one's trying to lose. Because as much as it sucks when you're in the stands and you're like, I want to get out there and just skate with you. You got to be thinking like, they're actually out there like busting their butts and they're doing everything they can. So I try to keep the optimism, because otherwise, like, why do I tune in and go to all these games and do all this stuff? Because otherwise I'm coming away. And yes, if we lose, does it affect my mood? Yes. Yeah. I can't fully get away from that. But if I'm upset every time, especially when the Canes go through their little ups and downs, I'm going to be a terror for anyone around me. So I try to give them grace. If there's definitely been times though, I've been like, fix the power play, shoot the puck. Like, I've definitely have those takes too. So I appreciate it. I try to give as much well-rounded thought to things as I can. Because trust me, speaking from pure emotion, that is what Twitter is for. And then when I talk to people, I'm like, let me give you a more in-depth answer so that I don't sound crazy.
That's the passion. That's the knowledge that you can get every episode at the Surgecast. Kat, thank you so very much.
Thank you for taking time. Yeah.
Thank you guys. It's early morning. Wouldn't want to talk hockey with anyone else.
I love it. I love it. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. Brad, how great is
fun.
that, right?
Right?
It's so great. It's so great having her in. And again, this is what I love about our show, and all of the guests that we get in. We focus on their fandom a lot, and then you get their perspective on the team. And that's where the gold is, right?
Yeah, I
Like
always like when
that's
people can come in and make you think about something differently in a new way. Newer fans do that, I think, easier in some ways because of the perspective. But somebody who's been around a long time like Kat, is, yeah, I mean, I think, does a great job of kind of putting context around things. And that's a big, and she's right. Social media is for, get it out of your system and
yeah,
then think
a
it
dumping
through and
grounds.
then go
Yeah.
through. But we still, I mean, so you and I, we got time. We can still do tropical storms and hurricanes here.
Yes, we certainly can. So, look, I'll jump in. My tropical storm, I have to say, is Mr. Robinson.
All right.
Wow.
Love
Like,
watching that guy
I
skate,
mean,
man.
he is right. And we've always told our guests who don't know about it, the tropical storm is either swinging up or dropping down. He is going up all season pretty much. He's been not quite there. And what I'm saying, and I know we've got into that. It's one of the jokes that we made about Nate just at the start of the season. Everyone said, this is the guy we wanted. Sign him long term. Like, sign him. Sign him, sign him, sign him.
Hmm.
I'm doing that with Robinson. A, it's not going to cost as much, right?
No.
But B, look at the effort and hustle. He is a bulldog. He's another he's he's another Martinook. You know what I mean? Like, he is another Carrier, only probably a little faster.
Yeah.
And how hard he works and how quick he is. And I think, has he already not surpassed his, the most goals that he's had in a season? I think he's at 10.
Maybe.
And he's part of one of the stats that we have. We have, along with the Washington Capitals, the most at least 10 goal scorers, like double digit scoring goals. We have the most on our team with 9, just like Washington. And I mean, look where Washington is. That says something. And he's part of it. He's part of it with the way he's connected with KK, I think, has been great. And it's almost like having another stall line with those
Yeah.
two together. They hustle so much, they get their opportunities, and they work hard. And when Kat mentioned all you want to see is work, all you want to see is like really hard effort. You're never let down by Robinson, ever.
100%. Last
Sign him
night,
up.
so I haven't seen the whole game yesterday. I just saw the highlights. And you'd be shocked how many highlights have Robinson, maybe not as the focus, but he's in so many of them. To your point, he's tied for his career high in goals with 12, which he did in 16 less games than the season with Columbus that he had 12. He's only 2 points behind his career high in points. And he's a plus 11 versus a negative 21 in 2023 when he got those 12 goals. So he's not only playing better, like offensively, like he's playing better across the board for Carolina. I think he's a perfect fit. This is a guy I would definitely want to lock up for a couple of years.
100%, man, he's so good.
Roslovic had that hot streak at the beginning of the year. Of course, everybody's like sign him long term, and it's like let's keep an eye out. Robinson is somebody I think who fits, who wouldn't cost you a ton. I think fills a role, and is one of those depth guys that I would want to keep. I would really like to see Robinson hang around. So absolutely, he's one of my favorites to watch. Just watch his hustle and his tenacity out there.
He makes everyone's lives, like opponent lives, miserable out there. And I love that.
which is great.
I love that. And again, and when Hall was on the line, I mean, he's played well with KK and Svetch, but yesterday the example with Hall and Robinson and KK all together, my goodness.
I really liked the way that worked.
That was awesome. That he's my tropical storm and very like on the very edge of hurricane. The very edge.
My tropical storm is going to be Brent Burns. And I looked up the numbers, and Brent Burns statistically has not been as bad as the eye test. The eye test has been pretty bad. So I think I don't know if he's moving up or down. But he's in the middle.
Yeah.
Since January 1st, Brent Burns has 8 points and is a +8. And if you just said, Brad, how many points does Brent Burns have since January 1st? I'd have been like, I don't know, like 3 maybe.
Yeah.
So he is contributing more than, and a lot of those are, it's 7 assists at 8 points. So he's not scoring, but that's nearly half a point a game. That being said, I forget which game it was, but Brent iced the puck 2 or 3 times in a row.
Oh.
And when one of them, the other team took that was one of those nights where we were at like 20% on draws or something ridiculously low.
Yes.
And they got it scored, which either tied the game or won them the game. And I just remember going, why are you icing the puck? Why you're you're a professional athlete. It's like the third ice. Like, why are you icing the puck? Age is coming for Brent Burns very quickly, right? The Grim Reaper is catching up really quickly with Brent in terms of his career. And that's going to happen. And that's okay. But he's getting slower. Because he's slower, that means Slavin has to cover more. It also means he's more likely to try and do too much, and he turns the puck over, or he ices it because he needs, to get his legs under him. Part of Brent Burns' problem is minutes. And you would have to reshuffle things. But Brent Burns is now on power play. He's on the penalty kill. He's skating 5v5. He's 1,000 years old, which is a little old for an athlete. He's getting 21-19 a night since January 1st. And you can just tell. I mean, maybe he thinks he can do it. Maybe Rod, I don't know. I don't know if it's the Iron Man streak. You and I have talked before. He's not catching Phil Kessel.
No.
In order for Brent Burns to get the Iron Man streak to pass Phil, I think he needs like 160-ish games, which is basically these playoffs all of the next 2 years, just about, without missing a date. And looking at the way he's playing, that's not happening. It shouldn't happen. That would go into the realm of players who play longer than they should, like who don't know when to hang them up. And no offense to Brent Burns, he's been tremendous for it. You and Catterlight, locker room guy, taking Blake under his wing, like those are all reasons to keep him around. But he doesn't need 21 minutes ice time. Like if you can get him 15 minutes ice time and move Walker up or something, I think Walker has shown enough that I'm not as concerned with Walker if he's paired with Slavin than Ghost, for example. Part of Walker's issue is he and Ghost together, can be a little tumultuous. But could Walker fit in with Slavin maybe and let Burns drop down with Ghost? Now, having Burns and Ghost on the same takes away some of that offensive punch. But let me give you, a clue here. Burns has a 1.8 shooting percentage. So looking at him as your power play one guy and your offensive threat with Stahl, he's not. I mean, the assists have actually been there. But how many times has Brent Burns telegraphed a shot that just gets blocked or just goes wide? It's a bunch. So I think Burns, of all the Canes, besides maybe Rantanen, will benefit from Four Nations. 2 weeks, fun and sun. I'm sure he'll be active, but hopefully less active. Hopefully he recharges those batteries, right? Because we're going to need Brent Burns to be good if we're going to go on a serious playoff run. And right now, he's shaky. And he hasn't been as bad as he was earlier in the year, but he's not playing great. And he's somebody who we need to be playing well. And part of playing well means if Rod needs to limit his minutes or limit him situationally, do those things. Like, because Brent Burns is not going to be a guy who's going to want to sit. and Rod's a player's coach. And so Rod's not going to want to sit him, but be the adult in the room, Rod. And you need to, look at the bigger picture, right?
Brad, it hurts my heart to say everything that I've said about Brent Burns. Calling him Roy Kent, being in that position is said with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Roy, the character Roy Kent is what Brent Burns is living. A legend, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Make no mistake. Brent Burns, when put up, will be the first man Hall of Fame in my eyes. He's certainly going to the Hall. There's no question about it. If he doesn't go the first time, I'll be surprised, but he will go. And everything about his play and his mentorship and his love of the game, that big toothless smile that he gives, it brings joy to my heart, and it hurts me to say those things. But the evidence is there on the tape. And he would be probably the first to say, yeah, that was a huge mistake. He probably, I don't know him personally.
He's too good to not know.
Yeah. I don't know him personally, of course, but I bet you he'd be the first to say, this is just not acceptable. I can't make those mistakes. But the love of the game overrides everything else. And he's not going to sit. You're right. Rod is not going to sit him. Rod's not going to sit him. It would be, and you're right, Four Nations coming, it will be probably the best thing for him. Really a nice 2-week break. What more could you ask for him? It hurts me to say, but you having him, as a tropical storm, I can buy that too.
Yeah, I don't think he's depressive yet.
But I included all of the defense except for Jacob Slavin, mostly because I didn't want to get murdered by Cat. But second of all, because that's the truth. Is that when you look at all of the D right now, this is the list of the 6 guys that you have in the order that I put them in on level of trust. Slavin, Chat, and after that, everyone's behind those two.
Yeah, there's a drop off, right? And to what Kat said, I wonder maybe maybe Orlov is nursing, an injury or something that we don't know about.
Could be.
With the guys that they've brought up and the sickness and everything, who knows? But
get your bell rung like he did by Howland.
Yeah, I think Orlov and Chatfield will be fine. I think at some point, I think everybody's gonna be fine at some point, but they need to get fresh batteries or whatever it is, or do something different, or change skates, change sticks. Yeah. But it's just so interesting because our penalty kill has been so very, very, very good. It's still
best
tops in the league. But our 5v5 defense is not. It's just funny to me.
Yeah.
If we could skate down a man the whole game, I think we'd still win about the same number of games.
We'd have at least 15 2-on-1s. Honestly.
Right, we might win more because Jarvis and Aho might net a bunch of shorties.
They'd 5%, be 60 goals. 60 goal scorers, both of them.
The net PK percentage is 5% because of the number of shorties. But anyway, Hurricane. Let's move on. I want to keep thinking.
Do you want to go first or?
I will. Yes, I will gladly go first because this young man has put up 20 points since January 1st. Most on the team. He's at 13 goals. Most on the team by not quite double. He's a +7. He's putting up 1.5 points per game. He's shooting it at almost a 27% clip. Seth Jarvis has been a wrecking ball of a player for us since January. I mean, the kid is absolutely on the tear. He is having fun. The highlight goals, I mean, Abe, the connection with him and Aho is phenomenal. Anytime you see those two on a breakaway, it's the one time when I see a Canes breakaway when I'm like, we have a really good chance here.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of hope Seth shoots.
Yeah.
Or Aho learns to elevate, one of those. But when you look at those, even just the passing, Seth Jarvis goes in the corner yesterday, digs out a puck, whips it around to Aho, and
For the shorty, by the way.
right, and the goaltender is half a second, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in hockey terms, a half a second is forever.
Yeah.
And he's a half a second late, even making the move to cover. And it's just those two guys have a connection that is just fun to watch. And then when you get Seth, like, what are you talking about in Four Nations? And he's like, I want to fight fishy, kind of, I mean, how do you not love the kid? He's got a great attitude. He is an incredible player. The next team that we're going to face, thank you, Toronto Maple Leafs, for Seth Jarvis, because he could have been yours, but y'all mismanaged that. We appreciate that greatly. Seth Jarvis is a Hurricane through and through. I mean, when you want to talk about the next superstar from the Carolina Hurricanes, Jarvis, I think, at some point might outshadow Aho. Because Aho is not flashy. You know what I mean? Aho is a point per game guy. He is great defensively. So is Seth. But Seth is all that with panache.
Yeah.
And
with swagger.
And you can, especially with the younger fans, you can just tell. I've heard I might be getting a Jarvis jersey, which makes me very happy. So it's Jarvis might be the next, maybe I shouldn't say outshadow Aho, but Jarvis is probably the next face of the franchise.
He might already be yeah,
that's a fair point.
Okay, let's go to D&D for a second. His charisma, dexterity, and wisdom and intelligence, frankly, are 18s, 20s. Like
it's like rolling a D&D character when I was 12. I'm like, hey man, what do you know? I got 4 out of 6 18s. Amazing how that happens.
It feels like, and I said this a lot. I have said, it's funny. You said around January, suddenly things really turned up and ratcheted up for him. Wasn't it around January when Team Canada selected him for the Four Nations?
Oh yeah, it probably was, wasn't it?
It was right around that time when he was selected and named. Actually, it was a little earlier, just before Christmas, when they named the team. I've said this in every platform. I'll say it in this platform. If Team can't, like, he's been selected as the quote unquote 13th forward. And there were people everywhere losing their minds, saying there are so many people playing better than Seth Jarvis. Seth Jarvis isn't ready to play for Team Canada. What are you talking about? Those people are idiots. Okay? Idiots who do not watch the Hurricanes in any way, shape, or form. It didn't take an amazing January, as you laid out for us, to understand just how good he is. You look back at last season, a personal best with a messed up shoulder and broken finger for some of it, but the messed up shoulder was the whole season. There is no one that puts in the effort that he does to be, and we've heard about it, he's a rink rat. He just loves to play hockey. Hey Seth, what do you want to do on your days off? I want to go to the rink. I want to go play hockey.
Right?
Like, that's who he is. And he's charismatic. He's got swagger, but not what's the bad part of swagger? cockiness.
Yeah, he's
I
not.
mean,
Yeah, his
he's
cockiness is probably.
yeah, that's I mean, and if he's put on like he was selected as the 13th guy, if Hockey Canada, if Team Canada, I've said it before, I'll say this again, like I said on every platform, if he is not part of the top 12 and play in every Team Canada game that they play, Canada will deserve to be last. Deserve to be last. I will
I'm with
be
you.
beside myself. Sorelli, great, but he's not Seth Jarvis. Not even close. And
Right.
Sorelli listed as the fourth line center. And Seth Jarvis won't look at the lines and say, hey, I deserve to be on the top line instead of McKinnon. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that if you want hustle effort, if you want Team Canada hockey, Seth Jarvis defines it. He is the living embodiment of the type of hockey that Canadians love, that Team
Mhm.
Canada has displayed in the past. If he doesn't play every single game, I'm going to lose my mind.
And there are bigger names on the Canada roster. Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, Connor McDavid, Braden Point.
Yeah.
Seth Jarvis is currently 55 in the league in scoring with 45 points. That puts him ahead of other big name players like John Tavares, Austin Matthews, Brady Tkachuk, Brad Marchand, Jonathan Marchessault. I'm just kind of going down big
And
names.
Marchand, let me just jump in because you mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
Marchand was one of the first guys that said, this is a fantastic pick. Getting Seth Jarvis is an amazing pick. I'm very happy that he was put on the team. And I don't
Can't wait to play with the
agree.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait to play with him. Look, could you imagine Seth Jarvis with Marchand on the same line?
I would not want to
Holy
play against that line.
no.
I'd rather, at
No.
least if I get embarrassed by McDavid, I go, well, he's McDavid.
He's McDavid.
You get embarrassed by Brad and Seth. Like,
And throw
not that they're
someone else
not
out there.
good, but like you're probably also like, they're really going to make you
Oh,
look foolish. You're probably going to take a couple of like elbows to the ribs and stuff too.
oh, so much. Anyway, sorry, I jumped in. Continue. You said
No,
him.
no,
I
you
just
you
needed to
you
make
you said it. Seth Jarvis is a Hurricane, and I agree with you. If he doesn't play regularly for Canada in this tournament, then they should loan him to Finland as an honorary fan,
Yeah,
because Seth Jarvis is, in my opinion, everything you want in your fourth line center for that tournament,
yep,
or third line center.
yeah. Third or fourth line, but he's got to be there. I'll be so mad if he got and we find out Wednesday because it's against Sweden. We'll find out Wednesday, and so honestly, if he's not in that top line, I'll stop cheering for Canada immediately. I'll join you about Finland. I will. And there'll be no rescuing it. There'll be no, okay, we realize we need Seth Jarvis now. It'll be too late. It'll be
Well,
too
Canada,
late.
no offense, Canada screwed up World Juniors this year.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, don't mismanage Four Nations. Seth Jarvis should be in your top 12.
No,
Who's your Hurricane, man? That's
I know you have to get me off the ledge here. I've picked him so many times, but he proved it again yesterday. Fishy, Sebastian Aho, still a Hurricane, a superstar, one of five active players in the league right now that has had 9 consecutive 20-goal seasons from the
wow.
start of their careers. One of five. OV, Tavares, Um, who were the others? Austin Matthews
Makes sense.
and there was one more, and they all started out with 9. But he's not a superstar, right? I I've been so furious with the experts who he's pretty good, but he's not a superstar. Come on. Being
He's
a
not flashy.
superstar
There's a
in
difference.
that yes, thank you. Thank you. He's not flashy. He's not, I mean, I've said it all before, so I don't need to say much more now, but that accomplishment alone, 20 goal seasons for 9 consecutive years and going strong, more than a point a game, like he's at 45 now after 4 points last night. I mean, come on. And the people that crack on him because he's not doing enough, and Cat's been one of them. Just not, we need more. We need more.
Hmm.
I think that the whole we need more stuff is because it's the same way. I don't want to, I'm not belittling addiction, but imagine the feeling that you have if you're addicted to something. The desperation of how much you love it, how much you want it, and you want more of it.
Hmm.
That's the thing. Maybe chasing a high. He provides so much joy. You want more of it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I apologize. I'm not belittling what addiction is. It's a monster. It's terrible. But I'm addicted to Aho, and but I also appreciate him as well for
Yeah.
what he does, for everything that he does.
If
He
if
does it
he
right.
if he scored the exact same number of points per season, played as well defensively, had the plus minus he does, but once a week he skated between 3 guys and buried a puck a la McDavid,
Yeah. Different
everybody would say, "Oh,
story.
he's a superstar."
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that the fact that he's Finnish, and which is just a more reserved culture, generally speaking. And we looked at Tavo. The guy hated being in front of the camera, right? So
Yeah.
the fact that Fishy just goes out there and does his thing and does it excellently is not enough for some people. And it is enough for me. We've kind of gone back and forth about the next level, right? Can he go from the point per game guy in the regular season to like dominant in the playoffs? Like, can he take his 3-on-3 overtime skills to the playoffs and really dominate? So I think for some people it'll never be enough because he's not ever going to be flashy enough. He's in Carolina. If he was, if he's a Ranger or something, like, he's getting tons of accolades, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if Ron Francis can put up the career he had with the Whale in Carolina,
Yep.
right, and do the things that he did and be second overall in points all time and number one in all the things that he went through, and to some people he's a footnote. And it's
Yeah.
because of where he played. If he did that and he did that in Toronto, he would have been,
Yeah.
he would be somebody you would still be talking about routinely, not just Hurricanes fans, right? Not just Penguins fans. So
Not a forgotten legend.
right, not the
That's-
also guy, but the
Yeah.
do you remember this guy, right?
Yeah. That it's why I call Sebastian Aho Francis 2.0. He's everything. I just absolutely love him.
Yeah.
Speaking of Aho and Seth Jarvis, you get to see him in the Four Nations. Now, Four Nations starts on Wednesday. I'm so thankful that the Canes went out on a high. Instead of going into the break on a four game losing streak,
Mm-hmm.
they go out on the right foot. They give the fans what we needed. They give themselves what they needed more. Who cares
Yeah.
about the fans? Let's be, let's be honest. Who cares about the fans? They needed that win more than anything. And the fact that it came at the hands of Utah, why do I despise them so much? Tell me, I don't.
I don't know. My son is super excited that he really wanted them to be the Utah Yetis. And I said it's not going to happen. He was very disappointed because he was like, Utah HC, what's that? And I was explaining. I'm like, yeah, it's not a good name for me. Sorry.
I mean, I don't mind it, but that's a whole other
Yeah.
story.
My poor wife, who loves hockey, has been so busy that she was like, Utah has a team. I'm like, yeah, they moved, from Arizona. She's like, oh, that's right, that's right. So,
The ever moving franchise.
but
Fort
so
Mages-
you have games in Montreal, right? Wednesday, Canada, Sweden. Thursday, Finland, Sweden. Huge game. We'll be thinking of Linnea for that one. And then
Yes,
that
we
night,
will.
USA, Finland. So Finland's got. I'm sorry. That's Thursday is USA, Finland. Saturday is Finland, Sweden, and then Saturday night, prime time, USA, Canada, and then they move to Boston, where I will be attending Canada, Finland in the afternoon, with Sweden, USA that evening, and then the championships are on Thursday. So a lot going on. I know there's a big fan fest thing taking place on that Monday, so I'll probably be in Boston for the whole day, which will be fun.
Love
I'm
it.
really looking forward to it. I really want to see Jarvis and Aho drop the gloves and
Wouldn't that,
like a slap
might
fight.
do
That'd be
that.
hilarious.
they might do that in the warm up just for fun. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be sweet. I know that there are a number of Caniacs coming up for the game, so I'm gonna try and put together some kind of group chat, see if we can all get together, grab something to eat, check out Fan Fest, enjoy the game, try and be a host if people would like that, and
Because
really looking
that's who
forward
you
to it.
are, man. Looking forward to it. And why aren't others? Is the question. There's a vibe out there where a great deal of people who will either, I'll check out a game or two, or not interested at all in this and would prefer that they were watching their own team again. And I'm thinking, guys, do you know what you're missing? Do you realize that this is the first time in, I can't even remember how long, that they haven't had best on best? Like, they are going to have the best of the world against the best of the world. By caliber of player alone, this is going to be the best hockey you watch ever until the next time that they do it. Why are you not excited? I get the whole.
I'm surprised.
I get the all-star game mehness that is out there.
That's an in-person event. You got to go to an all-star game, in my opinion, to have fun.
Yeah, because the watching it, no one's hitting anyone, no one's whatever. We're all here to
There's nothing at
put
risk.
on it. There's no risk, right? No anything. You're gonna see players playing with Stanley Cup playoff final passion. I really truly believe that, even though it's middle of the season and they may want to make sure that they don't, like, there's probably a belief among some, which is fair, that no one wants to hurt themselves. And certainly the franchises don't want anyone to get hurt playing too hard in this, and that there's a real danger of losing some of the best players. That is a fair criticism. Is it fair enough to just ignore it altogether and not be interested? And no, I don't think that's fair at all. There is a lot to look forward to. It's going to be great.
I'm really surprised. So I was looking at one of the seat resellers. I'm not going to name them because I don't think seat reselling should be a business.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Basically legalized scalping. I'm not a big fan.
No.
Canada Sweden game tickets start at $70 US. Makes sense. $70 for a hockey ticket, upper level in Montreal. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
USA Finland, $23.
What?
Had I known it was that cheap, now that I have my passport, like I might have gone up to that game, like had I known at the time, like, you know, $28 for a ticket and probably $100 for a hotel, and I'm set, you know, in a train ride. I mean, for $200, I could probably went and seen that game. $34 Finland, Sweden, USA, Canada, 185.
Okay.
Right? So I wonder, on the US side of things, $74 Canada, Finland, 140 Sweden, USA. The championships start at 155. So they're not even as high as the USA Canada game. So I wonder how much of this is just, I mean, it's weird to me because even though it's a national tournament, like I'm going because I want to see Aho and Rantanen and Jarvis. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what country they're from. They're from my team. But the Canada and US matches are way, way valued, way higher than anything else. And I'm just surprised. I'm with you. This is going to be best on best hockey for the first time in
Honestly,
years.
That's what it feels like.
I mean,
right?
years, like at least a decade, I think. And so, and this is a precursor. I think the NHL is going to be a lot of the Olympics next time around. So this will be a precursor to, if you play one in this tournament, maybe you get an Olympic pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's stuff riding on the line, even though it may not be. Maybe hitting's at 80%. Offense is not going to be. They're going to be trying to win. I mean, they're going to want to win, especially I think the Finns and the Swedes. I mean, Canada and USA are big self proponents in that way as well with sport. But I feel like Sweden and Finland want to prove, like, hey, like it's not a 2-man race. You know, like we're here, like,
right.
we're very good. So I'm with you.
I'll be watching every game with great intent because
I may not watch them live. I may have to record because some of them are actually none of them were when I'm working. So I might be able to watch them all live. But my plan is I have, my DVR set up to record everything, and I was going to watch all the games because I think you're going to see some incredible hockey.
And it's funny, there's some of the people that argue, well, there's a world champ. Like, why are we doing this? There's a world championships every year. And the world championships, yes, it's, which Czechia won last year, thanks to the great work of former Kane, Martin Necas and Pasternak. And you get some great players over there. There are a lot of players that don't go to it. Great players that I can speak for Team Canada here, that Team Canada would love to have from these teams that don't make the playoffs. They put the word out. They want the best of all of them. And you get a lot of not really interested.
Yeah. It's tough.
It is tough. And I'm not saying that the world championships aren't meaningful. Canada celebrates just as hard when we've won it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not quite as hard as, the Olympics in Vancouver. That was nuts. But sorry to bring that up. That was against the U.S.
Oh, I don't mind. Anytime I hear Vancouver in some kind of championship, I worry about the city. That's all.
Yeah. And well, you should. I'm so looking forward to this. Is going to be some great hockey. I don't understand what people are poo-pooing it, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. But I have some positive news as we wrap it up.
Fire away.
Before we record again, actually, we'll record again. So we'll record during Four Nations. But before the Hurricanes play another game, you and I will get to see each other in person. We will be at that game in Toronto. Dude, I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to this.
That one. Okay, so there is something that I'm more excited about than Four Nations, and that will be the Hurricanes' first game back against Toronto and I'm going to be there in the stands. I don't think Scotiabank Center, I don't think Toronto is ready for the Storm Cellar to be in attendance together cheering on our boys.
I don't think so. I watched those games in Toronto, and it's very quiet down where we're going to be sitting. I don't think the suits are going to know what to do with us.
No, I don't think they will. And look, I've had the opportunity to my wife, who I adore, who treats me far better than I deserve, has taken me to a game in Toronto to watch the Canes way back in the day. And I was just that they weren't ready for me alone. You know what I mean? I was just like, when you jump up on an away goal and you're losing your mind, and the people around you just kind of look at you and like, what's so exciting? Oh, there's a hockey game on. Like, look, the Leafs fans, when the Leafs score, there's passion there. They love their team. They're they're almost as crazy as Caniacs. But let's be honest, like, people are priced out of going to those games,
especially down low like that.
Yeah,
and that's what my worry is I'm not worried about like people booing us or anything. I think they're going to be like, why are you cheering? Like you're supposed to sit here and
you're supposed to be
proper and drink wine and and look at your phones and things like that. I think it's going to be a wrecking ball, and I don't know why. We'll have to do an usher count. Like, how many times do the ushers have to come down and like talk to us about? Because you know me, like I don't curse. I don't curse a lot in real life. I mean, I try not to. I almost never curse at a hockey game or in public like that because I have kids and I don't want people doing that around my kids. I try to be respectful. Like some fair, some friendly poking back and forth. Yes.
I've done that.
I don't do things that would normally get people in trouble, but I totally feel like someone's gonna be like, those people are very loud. Like, yes, it's a hockey game. Like,
yeah. Look, there's no one gonna be like, look, hey, you and I getting together. It's like we're building this up to where we're gonna be, throwing mitts at people that mess with us. No, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna be like that. And we're not. First of all, we're not in Philly. And we're not in MSG.
I'm not worried about like a fight.
No, there's not going to be a fight.
Yeah, I'm not worried about nothing like that. No offense, Toronto,
but
I'm from Boston, kid.
We're going to be excited. We have every reason to be. It's our boys playing Toronto, two great teams
exactly
that are playing well. And did I see now? Okay, you know how superstitious I am. Do I say it or not? If I don't know. There's a statistic that the Canes have in their favor when it comes to the Leafs.
There we go. We can leave it vague.
Maybe we just leave it there. That there's that sort of statistic. There's one in particular. There's a lot of stats in hockey. I mean, there, what the analytics. I mean, come on, there's lots out there. So we'll leave it at that. But the one thing you have to remember is look for the Storm Cellar in Toronto when the Hurricanes come back. We will be featured many a time on the cameras because
we'll be noticeable. Just look for the two guys who look identically. You're wearing your glasses today, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to make sure my glasses go on the trip or I'm not going to be able to see the game.
Yeah, I mean, just
my vision has gotten slightly worse.
Do that.
Yeah,
what a great show. What a great show today, Brad. Hey,
that was fun and a little impromptu. We had a guest who had to reschedule, but Kat was happy to join us, which was great. The last time we talked to Kat was 2 episodes before Linnea. Back in 2022. So it has been a long time.
A very long time. Now, we've had the opportunity to both together and individually join them on the Surgecast. We'll We'll pimp that show right now too. Please go check out the Surgecast. You will not regret it. You really want to. You want to go for Kat alone and Zach's there.
Yeah, we get to talk to Grandpa tonight.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. So we're looking forward to this. It's going to be great. Go check them out. Go check out really if you can find a podcast that talks hurricanes. Go out there and check it out. Storm
There's some good ones out there. Canes Prospects does some episodes again. Tom Ray from Storm Tracker and Aaron and Kate join him a lot on that show. Yeah, too. I mean, you got some good choices out there. But
stay with us.
I didn't say
we're music.
We're the best choice. I mean, but there are good choices other than us.
Fantastic. What else is there to say?
I have to go shovel snow, so I'd love to keep talking, but go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.